Hello and welcome to the Cyber Weekly podcast. Today we are joined by Paul Craig. Paul Craig is, I don't know about you, but first of all, I don't know what I was looking back and thinking of what I was doing when I was 14 years old. And it's not as good as what Paul was doing. So, Paul, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, dear.
So, tell us, walk us through your early life.
Yeah, okay, all right. So I grew up in New Zealand, actually in quite a rural part of New Zealand. My family had cows and livestock and lots of land.
I
And
thought that you were planning on becoming an all blacks guy, but
No, I was always more into computers. My dad would always buy me a computer when I was young, so I was always playing around with the computer. And I really wasn't so interested in the outdoors. But, using a computer in those days, playing with all the software, it cost money. You had to pay for all the software. So at about 12, 13, I started getting into reverse engineering. You think about, like some new shareware application that you want to play with, and it says, oh, you got to spend $50 on it. However, if you set a certain registry flag to a certain value, all of a sudden it says, welcome, full version. So I started doing this. I started sort of understanding how software works, deconstructing, decompiling, reverse engineering, and I started making lots of friends. So I met other people, and I had some mentors, some older boys that were a bit smarter and a bit more experienced than me. And they started showing me, hey, Paul, actually, you can just hack people. You can hack companies doing some of these tricks, some of these little bypasses and things that I was learning in software actually work on remote software, same sort of angle. So in these days, the cybersecurity laws, I mean, we're talking like 30 plus years ago, cybersecurity laws, at least New Zealand, really didn't exist. So technically, as a kid, I always told myself, I'm not breaking any laws because there really aren't any laws to break. And I started being really, I guess, curious, explorative. I sort of found out about SQL injection before most people found out about SQL injection. I found out that I could upload malicious files to web servers and take them over quite quickly. I found that most corporate networks don't have firewalls, at least in those days. And yeah, I started doing this at about 14. I was really quite active and having fun. And I did it till I was probably like late teens, early 20s. And then lots of laws started coming in, the environment, the landscape changed. People saw the internet was actually this real booming economic potential sort of machine. And I got a little more cautious. And I told myself, look, Paul, I love doing this job. Let's not screw it up for ourselves. Let's not get arrested. Yeah. So why not be professional? You could be a pen tester. So my naive 20-odd-year-old self applied to pretty much every company in New Zealand that was doing pen testing, and no one would hire me. No one would give me a chance to, not a single person. And very disheartened, I went away and I said, okay, if no one's going to hire me, I'm just going to do it myself. So I started finding CVEs, finding 0 days. I just started speaking at cybersecurity conferences. I would be doing world junkets, flying around the world, speaking at these cybersecurity events when I'm like 21, really, really quite young. And I also started making friends with people that were writing books. I'm working with a certain publisher in the US. And I was about 22. I got invited to co-author my first cybersecurity book called Stealing the Network, How to Own the Box, which I co-wrote with about 9 or 10 other really awesome hackers, including people like Joe Grand and Kevin Mitnick, actually. And the book was briefly an Amazon bestseller. That was pretty cool. Then the following year, I got invited to write on Stealing the Network, How to Own the Continent, and same sort of thing. But at this book, by writing this book, they invited me to Black Hat that year to do a book signing event. So I was signing all of these people's books, and it was at this event I actually met someone who had just started a cybersecurity company in New Zealand, and he hired me. So I created my own potential. I created my own future by working my ass off. And then I've been in cybersecurity and pen testing ever since. So it's just been hack, hack, hack the whole way till now. I haven't changed industries, jobs, focus, anything.
That's interesting. There are some caveats to the conversation, especially when you're talking about your life. Someone would ask, one is during your hacking when you are still young, did you get into trouble? Because definitely, us as kids, you usually want to tweak things here and there.
Yeah.
Secondly, when it comes to funding the trips, because now you find that an average citizen of a country who is still a student or a young person, they'll be like, this guy was traveling here and there. How was he able to fund that, especially if he wasn't actually employed? So there are two questions which come up.
Yeah, okay, all right. So firstly, I guess I'm pretty lucky. I never got into trouble. I never got into trouble with the police. I wasn't doing, I guess, really destructive things. It's mostly just being curious, being a kid, just wandering around. And as I said, a lot of the laws didn't actually exist at this time, so I would have had to be a real asshole, pardon my language, in order to actually sort of attract
That's
that.
interesting way of putting it.
I mean, it is quite a long time ago, right? So
Yeah, yeah, true.
the industry and the environment was a bit different. And interesting on the sort of funding my way around aspect. I guess many people don't know this, but when you submit a talk to a cybersecurity conference, they pay for you to come over, and they pay for your hotel. So my approach was always I would find the cybersecurity conferences that no one else was going to, that weren't very popular, or were in like a weird part of the world. So I was speaking in Luxembourg, I was speaking in Vietnam, I was speaking, places that maybe weren't such a mainstay sort of mainstay conference, and they would pay for me to fly over, and they would give me a hotel for a couple of days, and I get to meet awesome hackers from another country and sort of level up a bit.
So your trick was get one which very few people know about,
Yeah.
so that if actually you already created CVEs, so people actually are not getting to know that you're actually good at that craft, and then it's easier to buy that idea of you actually going to speak there.
Yeah, and when you do one or two, the ball starts rolling. People are like, "Oh, you've spoken previously at that conference and that conference."
Yeah,
Yeah, it's easy. It just keeps going.
yeah, that's true. Now, when it comes to your early exploits, which were actually chronicled by the legendary Kevin Mitnick in his book, The Art of Intrusion, what was it like having the world's most famous hacker validate your skills as a teenager, and how did that moment shape your future?
So it's quite surreal, to be honest, because knowing Kevin, I mean, obviously now Kevin's no longer with us, but in those days, Kevin was just so down to earth and friendly. You wouldn't really take it, didn't have an ego. You wouldn't think he's the world's most famous hacker. It was just that everyone knew this guy. I was like, wow, this guy's really famous. But
For context, could you explain who Kevin is for the
yeah, so I mean, Kevin was one of the FBI's most wanted people for a number of years. He was thought to possess the skills to launch nuclear weapons. He was locked up in solitary for many years, and he was an avid early hacker. I mean, Kevin told me he had Steve Jobs's password hash from Apple.com. I was like,
Wow.
whoa, really? Damn, that's good. That's something not everyone has, right? I mean, he's like super curious, creative guy, but there was something about Kevin that was just a bit different, that he was able to do things at a actual social level, a social engineering level, make people do things, but also turn it into a technical exploitation. So he was able to move quite quickly using technology and make people do what he wanted. So for him, maybe you call him an early red teaming pioneer.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So with 30 years of actually offensive security experience, you've said that security is no longer just a tech folk. When your team at Vantage Point goes into a new client's place, what's the first non-technical vulnerability you look for that corporate IT systems always miss?
Right. Okay. So you got to understand who we work with. Firstly, we predominantly work with banks and insurance. So big FSIs, people that've got lots of risk, lots of code. They've got apps, banking apps, all this stuff. I always tell my team, and I always do this myself, when you walk into a client, I go to GitHub and I start searching for class paths that have the bank's name in it. Um,
Mm,
it's more often than not, I actually find the source code or credentials of the bank, part of the bank. In fact, I've had a couple of pen tests when I've gone into a bank and I've laughed at the project manager and said, well, you don't have to give us the code. Your developer uploaded it to his personal GitHub last night, and the people's jaws are on the table. And it's a great example of how hacking is really just not a tech people's problem because it's that process. The technology is everywhere, right? The technology is in everything that we do. It's very hard to have a process in life that doesn't have technology somewhere in it. And you can use technology both securely and insecurely. But most technology gives you the ability to use it insecurely. So GitHub won't warn you or tell you, hey, you're committing your company's code to a public repo. Everyone can see this repo. It won't tell you that.
yeah.
So yeah, that's my favorite trick is just getting their code day one.
Okay. I thought it was leaving a USB somewhere.
Simple things, man. Always the simple things work.
Yeah. So, you now lead an elite team of ethical hackers across Singapore, Indonesia, and Thailand. Hackers are naturally curious and love to break rules. How do
Yeah.
you lead and scale the team whose entire job is to bypass a system you put in place?
Yeah, so it's definitely a tricky one. It's definitely a tricky one. So, I mean, give you a great example. All of our laptops are locked down. We have device management on the laptops, and you can't browse social media sites on your laptop because some of the clients we work with have this as a sort of a security requirement. So, from our point of view, the laptop is fully locked down. You can't browse social media sites, but some people still do. And they do that because they either write their own browser, they find a way to bypass it, they do something. So it's really a little bit closing one eye because no system is 100%, right?
Yeah,
And
that's
these
true.
guys are hackers. I can't stop them. But at the same time, I think the most important thing is letting people understand why. I tell people we don't print our client reports and we don't save our client reports to our laptops. We don't share this information because it's really sensitive and protected information. But behind that, I'll have a technical control that actually stops you from saving it, that moves it off your hard drive if it detects it on your hard drive. So people understand, they know why I'm doing this, and then there's a technical control. And if someone really goes through everything and they put all the reports on their hard drive and they found a way of bypassing, that it might have negative repercussions. It might be a career limiting move. But
Mm,
for the most part, people are actually quite good when they understand the context behind it, you know?
yeah, true. What's one of the worst case scenarios you have always seen, especially when it comes to hacking? Now, this is in context to situations
Yeah.
you have been at. What is that thing which you have found that is quite interesting most of the times when you see this?
All right. So I look at myself. I look at someone who spent their entire life dedicated to this art of hacking and is a legal, ethical hacker, right? I follow the laws. I don't do anything silly. I help my clients, and I think to myself, there has to be 100 times more people than me who are the complete opposite, the black hats. So someone who is professionalized, someone who's working in a criminal gang or organization, whose sole intent is to try and get money from a client. If you're as persistent as I am and my team, these people are also winning, and they're probably winning as much, if not more, than we're winning because they can do it all day, every day, not sleep and just keep going. So it worries me about the professionalization of criminals in cybersecurity. And I also get quite worried about the involvement of nation states because the politicization of cybersecurity, when you've got people that are working at a government agency where it's their job to hack foreign countries, they get really good at hacking foreign countries. And if the politics one day don't fall your way, organizations get hacked, they get compromised. We saw this in the Russia-Ukraine situation. We've seen it actually seen it all over the world, right? I mean, it's quite constant, and it's predominantly nation states that are really doing the fancy stuff. And if they want to hack you, they're going to hack you because they're people. They got more resources, more skill, and the same persistence.
According to you, what's your biggest What's in the industry in general? What's one of the biggest misconceptions online enterprises are buying into, and what are we still getting wrong?
Right. So it's interesting. The one thing I've really learned in cybersecurity is that it's moving. It's this really dynamic, shifting, almost like a river, right? It's constantly flowing. And people look at it very much as a point in time. So I think the thing that a lot of enterprises, a lot of corporations get wrong is that they treat something as a silver bullet. They say, hey, I'm going to buy this thing, or I'm going to implement this, or I'm going
Yeah,
to do this today, and then I'm good forever. It's not like that because maybe 6 months down the road, there's a new attack vector, there's a new thing, your tech stack changed, Windows now has a new function, or attackers are now doing this new thing. And then all of a sudden, the product, the solution, the ideals that worked 6 months ago, they don't even work anymore. And then it's all down the drain. So we end up in the situation where every year someone's got a new silver bullet, a new thing. This will fix it. The last ones didn't fix it because it was bad, but this one will fix it. Security is a constant process. It's every day sharpening. It's every day looking at processes, people. It's training, it's technology, it's environment. And you have to constantly keep refining these things. That's easily the biggest mistake.
so according to you, so as a person in the Southeast Asia, um, digitizing rapidly with the industry 4.0, what keeps you up at night when it comes to cybersecurity and critical infrastructure?
A critical infrastructure in particular is really knowing just how far hacking can take you. I mean, we've worked on red team engagements with organizations where we've been at the center of billions of dollars, where we could bankrupt like Fortune Foods, where you can turn things off and you can potentially impact life. Seeing these sorts of things and then seeing how quickly everyone adopts cyber. That's the biggest nightmare. I mean, you take something that's offline, not plugged in, maybe it's the process involves a piece of paper, and one person signs the piece of paper and gives the piece of paper to another person. And they say, well, paper's horribly inefficient. Let's replace this with an application. Let's put it online, IP everything in the cloud. Yes, it's great. It's digital now. And then it's code. I can't hack that piece of paper, dear. I mean, you can have that piece of paper in as many places as you want. Inside a secured building, I can't hack that. That process is really solid. But the moment we change these processes, well, now actually I probably can hack that. And when that's connected to something that's really important or really critical, that's a nightmare. I think healthcare is probably my biggest sort of concerning keep up at night area, where your medical data, your medical results, let's say diagnostic test results, lab results, X-rays, patient notes, things like this, they're all digital. And most of the time they're in the cloud. And these things are getting hacked. So I think it's easier to hack a hospital than it is to hack, say, a power plant or turn the water off in a country. Because the hospitals don't actually invest a huge amount in cybersecurity. It's not seen so critical. But, it is quite critical. I mean, blood test results, health information is actually really important.
Yeah, that's true, especially with this nowadays. I think that's the point you have hit at that is very critical. As much as we want automation, we are forgetting that actually automation comes with the risk of
Yeah.
bringing the hackers just right at your doorstep. Yeah. As a Crest ambassador, you meant a new wave of actual cybersecurity professionals. If you found a 14-year-old today with the exact same skill sets and curiosity as you were in the 90s, what's one piece of advice you'd give them to keep them on the right path?
Right. So, firstly, I do actually actively look for younger people that want the opportunity and want the chance. As I explained, when I was younger, there really weren't opportunities. So I go out of my way to try and create opportunities for other people and to try and mentor and guide people. I think it's really, really important in the industry. And anyone who's in a position where they're able to teach someone else should teach someone else. The advice I have for people that I work with is really around professionalization as early as possible. So you finish your schooling, start immediately getting hacking certifications, assuming you want to be in this sort of space in cyber. So Crest is a great example of professionalization. Crest certificates are recognized all around the world. They really show you're of a certain level. So if you get
For context, what is CREST for?
yeah, so CREST is a cybersecurity accreditation and licensing and what would you call it?
It's like
Certification.
CompTIA.
Yeah, well, yeah. So its origins actually come out of GCHQ in the UK. The CREST exam was originally, when it was first created, was the exam in order to work with the spies in the UK. It was the most hardcore exam. It feels like getting kicked in the stomach. It's a really challenging thing. But it then got adopted by the Bank of England. It got adopted by other countries. So Singapore, a great example. Australia, Thailand has adopted it. It's present in Europe, US, North America, and actually quite a few parts of Africa as well. There's a number of movements where people are looking at having a standard for cybersecurity. So getting accredited, getting professional, saying, hey, look, I've got these certs that are recognized all over the world, and then getting experience. So it's really hard to get into the industry without experience. But if you go find CVEs, if you're doing bug bounties, if you're doing CTFs, play CTFs until you just cannot play CTFs anymore. Win some, get some runs on the board, and then get a profile together that really shows, look, I'm passionate. Show the passions, show the desire, show the discipline, show that you have, the certs, I've got CVEs, I've got everything except a job. And from an employer's point of view, that's the guy I look for. Every time I look for the passion in the guy. I don't look for the guy who necessarily has all the experience. I look for the guy who's going to get there. He's going to get the shell. He's going to hack. He's going to hack my client. So yeah, I would really recommend people go down that road. It's a challenging one, and I know there's a lot of temptation in the black hat space. I can tell you that some of my friends when I was younger did go down the black hat road, and they had quick successes. They had quick wins, and almost all of them have been arrested. A lot of them just disappeared. They can't work in this industry. This industry, you have to be really clean. So before we can hire anyone at Vantage Point, we have to do full background checks on them. That's part of the CREST compliance. So we have to make sure that you're not bankrupt, that you don't have a criminal record, that you're not wanted anywhere. So at the moment you have screwed up, even if you're a kid, the industry's gone. You can't work in that industry. So it's really critical that people have stayed onto the right path. And I think as a community, we'll help and support each other to get young people on the right path as early as possible.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you, Paul. We are drawing towards the end of the conversation, actually, the end, and definitely have picked a lot about starting early, making sure that you at least get your dirty,
Yeah.
as per se, to get things up and running. Um, I've noticed when you went for those hackathons, you had a lot of hype and all that, and part of it is your character as general, and definitely you've showed it here that charisma also plays a key role in terms of your employment of people. But if you are to lean deep into your now, like going for those programs, those cybersecurity conferences, what are those key things that you usually look out for, especially for those?
In what context? Key things I look out for.
One is if you look for recruitment during those conferences, how do you maximize that time spent there? What were you doing?
Yeah, so look for recruitment, definitely network, meet people. I find a lot of the people in this industry don't leave this industry, so you make good friends, and your friends 5, 10 years later could be very senior at very large tech companies or doing something really interesting. I always try and teach other people, show other people, so give time to other people, chat to other people, and just try and be really open. Because again, I just know how difficult the industry is to get into. So giving time to someone else is usually quite worthwhile.
Okay, thank you for that. Any parting shots? Where can people find you, and any last thoughts you have?
So the easiest way to find me would be on LinkedIn. You can follow Vantage Point, see what we're up to, see all the hacking we get up to in Southeast Asia. Maybe some parting words of really just, I guess, from my experience, try and create your own potential, try and create your own opportunities in life. So I know it can be pretty challenging to get ahead, to do something, but If you just stick to something, keep doing it, believe in yourself, and just keep grinding, eventually it works. I mean, I'm a kid from a farm in New Zealand, right? And here I am in Singapore with 3 companies and over 50 hackers hacking most of the banks in Southeast Asia. Never would have thought I would get there, but kept going, eventually did.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes. Have a good one.